Hi, my name is David Merlin. Welcome to Take from Caesar. Nothing you'll hear me say is intended as legal advice. Anything that sounds like that to you, just consider it something somebody else might do on a planet far, far away where the law matters. It doesn't matter here. I prove it on a daily basis. Believe it. Great news today. It's a great day. Anytime somebody can get relief against the tax man, you bet. It's a great day. And in Massachusetts, a man beat up the taxing authorities with Section 83 in a series of letters, and they backed off. And all the liens and levies were lifted. Nothing in this release of liens or levies shall be construed as a vanquish of any debt owed for child support, they tell him at the end of the notice. Oh, okay, duly noted, servant breath. Not thank you for backing off, but what the hell took you so long to back off? In Massachusetts, a citizen intimidates state taxing authorities into releasing liens and levies using only Section 83A. It's true. Listen and learn. In a moment, we'll begin to go through this guy's documents. It's really very easy. It's a simple package to understand. The guy writes very simply and directly, pleading for the purposes of proving later a violation of civil rights. He makes his notices to the government very firm in that belief that you're depriving me of this right, and this right. Under the Constitution, I don't appreciate it. You better come clean. You're cheating me out of Section 83, aren't you? And it was the only argument he used against state taxing authorities in Massachusetts, as you'll see. So I didn't note how far back he went with his notices, but you'll see they're listed in his correspondence. I have like I think his fifth and his eighth letter that he sent in this chain of correspondence. And we know from the Lloyd Long case and the Vernice Kuglin case that it really pays to have a record of correspondence showing a good faith effort to comply with the law. To avoid criminal charges. But as you see here, regardless of what he was doing, they were still leaning and levying him. And they finally backed off, and you'll see why. Now, what you're also going to hear at the same time, so you listen while I go through these documents, and it's an interview of this man on the phone with Chris Chapman and I today. It's August 15th, 2018. And he tells you about what he did. It's very simple. It's only a 27-minute interview. We don't really take a lot of time in there to chew the fat. It's all, pure. It's the beef. What did you do? Why did you do it? When did you do it? And I think you're going to like the way he talks. He doesn't use criminal complaints. It's not in his vocabulary. Whereas it's the first thing I do every time. Everybody knows that. So he, however, took a certain course of action, and bingo, the state dropped it. And that's always noteworthy. I've got the documents, so you're going to see two notices from him with different dates, like last March and I think one in May of this year. And then some paperwork he filled out from the government, from the federal government, and served on the director of revenue for Massachusetts, and that caused the release of the liens and levies. A very nice, tidy wrap-up to everything, as well as the campaign that he mounted. It was pretty much the same letter that he sent every time, saying, for these reasons, I really think you're out of line, and I need to know how Section 83 operated, and your conclusion that I had gross income. It's all very basic, right along the same lines you always hear me spouting about the law, Section 83. It's the method they're required to employ to figure your cost, and they ignore it. And we're going to get to his documents, and then I'm going to start the recording, and you'll hear the interview with him, and nothing after the interview. It'll be the last thing you hear today. It's 27 minutes long, and it's about his effort to get him to back off, and the exact correspondence he used to get them to do so. And then at the end, the last 10 pages are annotations about Section 1983 of Title 42, couple other things that weren't of his making. They were just served on these people with that notice. So sit back and enjoy the document and the interview, and then when the interview is over, go ahead and go back to the where the note where the video of the documents begins in this presentation. You want to go back to that point and slowly read the documents at your speed instead of watching them at my speed while you listen to the audio that I'm going to attach to this this intro. Once again, my name is David Merlin. Thanks for tuning in to Take from Caesar. You also want to go to wevgov.com. wevgov.com. It's the fast track to remedy in the form of proving public servants have committed crimes. That's what I'm about, and it's the fastest way to remedy. Everybody tries to sue. How many people succeed? Almost none. And how many people can afford an attorney? Almost none. And so the job just doesn't get done. Criminal complaints, a lot of times, pushes the government off. So anyway, we're going to get to his documents now. I'm going to scroll slowly through them, and this is the point at which I will attach the audio recording of the interview of the man today we'll call Jake. And once again, I'm really glad to be able to bring you a set of documents that actually turned the lock. It was the key to the lock, and this guy found it, and he had to hammer on it a little bit, but finally they backed off. Here we go with Jake's documents.
Hi, this is David Merlin. I'm on the phone with a man we'll call Jake. For the purposes of this call, he didn't go back and forth with a state taxing authority. He went forth and they never replied. Apparently, by judging from the paperwork from him, I received on, I think it was Tuesday, August 14th, 2018, yesterday. And conspicuously, the levy, his correspondence related to, was released when he pursued a very particular course of action that I don't teach, and because I seldom deal with state or municipal controversies, last few years all it's been is federal. So this is off of my radar, and it's unique concerning my approach to tax law. He used my findings and analysis of statutory provisions that govern how to tax a paycheck, and used a different route to drive his point home with state taxing authorities over a levy they wanted to impose or had imposed, and they withdrew the levy when they saw this certain approach. Hi, Jake. Great work. I'd love to see those documents. That was fun.
Yes, yes. Everything you just said is true, and I created a history, because that's how I do it, and to request a hearing or request them to to show me how they can tax the fruits of my labor.
Right.
You know, my
let's back up a couple of steps. How long have you been looking at my work?
I'm going to say about 4 or 5 years. I've known about you longer than that, and
great,
right on point with the law.
It's only law, isn't it?
Exactly. And
that's great. Now, did you speak with somebody else that proposed this approach, or is this something you formulated that we're going to get into here?
No, this is something that I took this action, this move on the state, because they deprived me my rights. And I knew enough about Title 42, Section 1983 for about 30 years. And I've actually threatened that in the past with certain government officials, which I won't get into that, because we're only talking about this one here right now.
Right.
With the income tax. With the
okay,
taxation.
so we're talking about a federal U.S. District Court civil suit, perhaps, and it stopped short of that, and they released the levy with you on the doorstep of doing it. Now, since you go back a few years with my work, this Section 83 approach, you're very familiar with it, have been for a long time. So you went ahead and articulated it, but I noticed in your correspondence to them, you said, I contacted you on this date and on that date and on this date and on that date, and you had a list of prior correspondence that you had sent to them. Did all of those concern the same issues?
I'm sorry, what was that? All those concern what?
Were all of those correspondence, did all of them contain allegations about Section 83?
Absolutely. That's all I've been,
okay.
That's all I've been
I understand.
On.
Right. Okay, so your whole record is statutory. That's great. I have to ask that because, everybody I meet, have you in the past filed Pete Henderson tax return? Have you in the past done this or that? So that I know their landscape, if you will. So that's great. Your entire record, this was I think it said 7 correspondence I sent you previously, and you failed to reply. And let's start off with that last correspondence that you sent them before you went 1983, and start there.
Well, I've mentioned it in all the other communications that I would take action in the federal district court. I guess under Title 42, Section 1983, which we call it 1983. And they really didn't think I would do this. Now, they also would never answer me, never respond to me, as I stated, by requesting them to correct the errors by Section 83. And they just did not want to have anything to do with that. I've actually had an attorney from the Litigation Bureau, I won't say his name, but he said to me, because they use Section 61, right? We talk, about gross income and all that, and that's okay. They use that, and that's how they determine whether or not you owe an income tax. So I brought out Section 83, and the attorney said, they should correct the errors here. This is what an attorney said from the Mass Department of Revenue, and he represents the DOR, the Mass Department of Revenue. And he said, I've read your briefs, I've read your letters, your communications, your affidavits, and you're right on. But and this was all off the record, by the way. So Section 83.
Yeah, he's fired.
Oh yeah, this is all off the record. So he said, you're right on with Section 83. It's a statute. It's the law. And as you always say, Dave, that there is a law, and it's there. And you've been saying that for years. Many years ago, I went to somebody and I said, I won't say the name on that person. He's actually dead now. And I said, well, what about Section 83 that David Maryland always talks about? And this is like 15 years ago. And he said, no, we don't have gross income, period. We're not liable for the tax, period. Well, of course, we know that. But Section 83, from what I see and how I've been using it, really shakes them up. And the attorney actually said to me, you're shaking the Mass Department of Revenue right up, and I know I've been doing that because I stay right on it. And I keep pounding them with I call them, letter notices or notice letters, whatever the hell I say there in the title. And but I've done all this myself by using what's Section 83. And then at that point, then that's when I went with deprivation of rights. And the rights they're denying me is my right to redress of grievances, First Amendment, my right to due process, which is the 5th and 14th, because you can use the 14th Amendment. A lot of these people out here say, no, you can only use the 5th. No, you can use the 14th. It's against them. And also the equal protection under the 14th. And I stand on them. I stand on them solid because they're denying me my right to use the statute, Section 83. And as far as the action I'm taking, it runs parallel with the common law tort. Title 42, Section 1983 is a tort. Yes,
Jake. I wanted to note right here how you just went from arguing statute to Constitution. Every tax case, before you know what provisions to argue, every tax case is a statutory argument. 61A, Your Honor, everybody knows it's gross income, right?
Right.
When you know what provisions to argue, and they can't debate them, it becomes a constitutional issue and not a statutory case.
That's correct.
That's what we derive from knowing exactly which statutes to argue, and you see everybody else passing up when in fact it changes the shape of tax litigation. Go ahead.
That's correct, and you're right, because it's no longer taxation, it's now my rights. My rights. Your rights, whoever's rights. And that's what it becomes. The issue is rights now. And they've denied me the use of the law, which is due process, equal protection, and the right to redress a grievance. I know I have all that in those documents, what I just said. And I make that clear to them. But the deputy commissioner mentioned in there, she actually, when I started bringing this out about 8 months ago, she had another agent call me up and say, well, what do you want us to do? And I says, well, what I want is a hearing. And I want you to correct the errors and the mistake and use Section 83. That's what I want you to do. I want to know how you determine that I received taxable income, and as I state in the letter, and many times, over and over. I believe you have the 6th and the 7th, and there are 5 more before that. There's that history there that I create. It's very important to create that history. Very important. And you put it together, and there's your case. There's your claim. So when you bring an action in, there's no failure to, dismiss failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. It won't happen if you do that. And this is the type of action that you take if you read Section 1983, you'll see that. It says it right there. And it's really not hard, to move in that way when you've been denied and deprived your rights, your life, your liberty, your property.
So your idea was to go to U.S. District Court and fill out a civil cover sheet and tell them the time it. Go ahead.
No, I use their form. You can.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. I understand. And I'm sure you had to file a civil cover sheet with that in their form. It's nice that they have that, so they get a sketch of the case.
Right.
To see. Now, I don't know the statute off the top of my head, but there's a statute in, I think it's Title 18, about assignment of counsel to somebody that has a valid claim. And that's what they're fishing for with that form. I like that they make that form available. You filled it out nicely. You used a different font for your answer. That was effective in allowing somebody to read the form. And the important part is not that a civil lawsuit was filed against the government. It's that just going that direction was enough to convince them not to move forward. And now the background for this call, it's going to be a YouTube video, it's going to have a slideshow, running slideshow of the 24 pages. It'll play for as long as this audio recording lasts. And people will see these documents and be able to read them on the way. And they'll see that you filled out a form at U.S. District Court. Now, did you pay a filing fee? Did you file to proceed in form of paupers? Well, no, of course not if you're a contractor.
Right, no.
No. You hang on. You did not proceed to get a docket number?
No, because I didn't have to file it, as I stated.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Hang on. Just a second. I don't want to skip anything. So
Okay.
This last correspondence said Section 83, and so help me, Uncle Sam, I'm going to sue you in U.S. District Court. Describe a little bit of the process of going to the court and obtaining that form, or did you download it?
Okay. No, I downloaded it, and I under when you move on an action on Section 8, 1983, you have to tell the party that you're going after for damages and so on that you're going to file this. And we can't remedy this now, then I'm going to have to take you into court. You keep denying me my rights. So, and what I did was, what you have wasn't finished. It was almost done. All I had to do was add a few more dates in there, probably another letter notice. Actually,
Right.
would but I didn't have to do that, and put the money and damages in there, as I stated at the bottom of it, on the attachment as well. But that attachment explained, it got into more detail, and of the history and where it was, and who did it, when they did it, when they violated my rights, what dates they violated my rights. And all my rights were, and are, is to have a hearing, and on Section 83. That's all it is. No more, no less. But my rights have been denied. So anyways, I never had to file it. They pulled everything back. They took the levies off. Okay? And the liens, for that matter. Because I had liens on me too. I've been dealing with these people for years. But this is Section 83 has really hit them, because they don't know how to deal with it. And because they haven't answered me, and they haven't fixed the errors, because there's error here. I don't have taxable income, and so on, as I state in the letters. And I've been doing this for years in the courts, for 30 years, as far as filing my own motions and actions, but not like this. This is a Title 42. It's a civil federal case. I've been mostly doing state cases, and which I won't get into that, but I do have a bit of background into filing lawsuits. Not lawsuits, defending myself in criminal cases.
Well, you have a bad attitude.
Pardon me? Oh yeah, right. I am. Yeah. But
now,
that experience helped out. That's all.
Of course, with tax law aside, do you have my courses? On flat?
No, I don't. I've just read a lot of your briefs. I've read I've actually had your complaints. I've read that. That was out years ago. So I know quite a bit about you, and I know how thorough you are, and how you don't get into anything that's
serious.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much crap going on out there today, And whenever you say that, because I do listen, I do download the calls, and I've been doing that for years. And you know, I shake my head. I go, this guy is right on. You know.
Okay, Jake.
Yes.
Jake, what I would encourage you to do, if you don't already have my course about writing and filing citizens' criminal complaints and drive-by litigation, you're more than ready for both of those, and it would be a new branch in your entire approach to abuses of any kind. If you didn't do the damage, if you're not the guilty party, and someone comes after you and they know that you're not guilty, it's handcuffs first with me. It's not messing around saying, oh, I'm going to sue you or whatever. It's like, excuse me, you're committing crimes and you have to back off or I'm going to take you to the FBI and handcuff. Don't make me use pepper spray. That's the first posture I want to get out of the facts of the case is under the law, I've got certain rights. The right to arrest a felon, and if they're using the mail to get my money or my liberty wrongfully, that's 20 years in prison. That's a federal felony, 18 U.S.C. 1341. Do you have any proof I'm not allowed to arrest you? When you can ask that question first, you can avert a lot of crap that might otherwise come your way. And I'd like to see somebody with your experience get my stuff and actually activate, and because the criminal complaints you get in my courses are impeccable, Microsoft Word, just ready to go. Anyway, what do you think you might have to do next to these people? They still say you owe, and I have to say it's awfully interesting that off-the-record conversation you had with an actual government attorney.
Yeah. Well, I've had a few of them with him. Him and I, we've become friends, and if you will. And he's
careful.
He's all
careful.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I've been around, and but like he always says, off the record, you know. And I know he's right in there. Whatever I say, I make sure it's everything I do is legal and lawful, you know, and you know, just asserting my rights here. That's all I'm doing. And but yeah, what I would say to people out there is get your history, get everything in order. What you requested, you requested the use of the law, and they're denying you it. Well, there you are, right there. You know, you don't have to go as long as I did. I got approximately a few years history here with that deputy, just with that deputy commission. I go after the big ones. I don't go after any small, the underlings and all that. I go after the big ones. Of course. You know.
Of course. And if they fail to answer once, you have a case. And so you don't have to have an extensive history, but you do want to have a record that's at least robust once, twice, three times, saying, hey, how does Section 83 operate in your conclusions? I think you're stealing.
Exactly, absolutely. You can't tax my paycheck. Period.
What I would do if I were you, and I'm not an attorney, I can't give legal advice. I wouldn't want to. There's no such thing, really. It's a matter of what the judge wants. But go on record with an affirmative statement saying, based on this record of correspondence and your failure to explain otherwise, I have to believe that I am not violating any laws when I do not pay what you demand from the fair market value of my personal services, and when I do not file a tax return under Massachusetts state law. And that should be the final nail in the coffin on any proposed backdoor conversations about bringing charges against you.
I totally agree with that. You're absolutely right. I was actually working on an affidavit, too, to set the record with that, put that on the file as well. They know I'm serious up there, and the IRS, too. And I've been doing the same, by the way, I've been doing the same thing with the IRS, except I haven't filed. I haven't showed them a Title 42, Section 1983 yet. See, you go after them under that, but you have to move on a Bivens. I know you're familiar with Bivens. Maybe you're not.
Yeah, hang on. Here's something I think is very funny. Since you've already engaged the IRS, and of course we know without even you telling the audience, they failed. You have property rights that they refuse to give you, the right to know how the law operates. You're entitled to clear explanation of the laws, Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. So you can't have that from them even though you've tried. Sue them in small claims court for a lease on the information they refuse to give you, and identify one week's lease. Find out what the small claims court limit is. Let's say it's $5,000. Sue them for $5,000 in small claims court for 1 week's lease on the information they won't give you. They're going to remove it to federal district court. That way you've skipped having to pay a $350 filing fee, and you got a civil suit in U.S. District Court. As soon as they remove it, amend it, and you're in U.S. District Court with a great exhibit against future criminal charges.
I like that. Yeah, I've done the same thing with. I think I'm up to. I was up to like 11 notices. So what you see there, the same thing with the feds. They don't know what to do. It's all on Section 83. They don't know.
Hey, hang on. You're not in prison, and so they know exactly what to do. Leave them alone.
Yeah, right. But I hear from them now just for 1 year. 1 year. Everything else they just don't want. They don't even want to bother with it. And that 1 year they send me a reminder, and I send them back a reminder with everything you see in there. And I get the 11. With them it's 11. I've been doing this for a few years with them.
There's that bad attitude again. And my compliments. Well, hey, let's wrap this up, and I want you to stay in touch. Are you a co-complainant to my 2006 complaint to Congress?
No, I'm not. But I'll tell you, I've been going over this in my mind, and I also would like to. I gotta get on that. And I gotta also get the other material you were talking about. It would be good in my library. I know it would.
Well, good. Get a hold of the office, and we'll set you right up. This has been fun. Let's wrap this up, and look forward to the next interview with Jake, because I don't think he's done, and I certainly want to hear about other developments. It's fun to hear about somebody that has a background, at least an experience in civil litigation, picking this up and throwing it right in the faces of the taxing authorities, state and fed. That's great news, man. So let's talk again soon, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely, because it all comes down, it's become a rights issue, and you're absolutely right. And yeah, I love it.
Okay, well, thanks for making yourself available for me and my audience, and like I said, let's talk again soon. You have a good day, all right?
We will definitely be in touch, and you too have a great day.